Hey YouTube, it's First Alert Meteorologist John Burchfield here. We've got another exciting edition of Weather Hangout Kids Edition for you. And today's topic, again, I think it's very timely and relevant that we talk about what's with all the rain. This may be a question that's crossed your mind in the last week as we've begun a very wet weather pattern. So I'm going to answer that question, what's with the rain today. Just sent out that push alert to the weather app, the First Alert weather app. So once that goes out and we've got a few more folks joining on in, going to get going with today's First Alert Weather Hangout Kids Edition and answering that question, what's the deal with all the rain? Why has it been so wet lately? Sort of answering questions that you might have about the rain. So we've got Christopher joining us. Hey, Chris Scarberry, thanks for tuning in on this Thursday morning. It's been very wet, very rainy lately. So give me a shout out. How much rain have you gotten lately? What's it like where you are at? I know folks to the west of Toledo got substantially more rainfall, but it's been kind of hit or miss. Some parts of the viewing area haven't gotten quite as much rainfall, but yeah, tune in with the kids. We're going to be talking about what's with the rain. Last week we compared the weather to a roller coaster in the Hangout. This week kind of feels more like a water park and not really a fun one, and more kind of a persistent rainy, soggy one. So we got Andy tuning in. Thanks, Andy, for joining us. Today's Hangout Kids Edition. I've got my graphics up and running. What's with all the rain? I'm just going to wait till a few more folks join on in and that push alert goes out on the weather app. Once that goes out, we usually get a lot of viewers tuning into these Hangout Kids Editions. And if you're joining us with the kids, let me know what school district you're from, what grade you're in. Definitely this is a good weather lesson for all ages, whether the parents or the kids alike. Hi, Andy. Thanks for joining us. And we've got Chris continuing to be with us here on our Weather Hangout Kids Edition. So going to talk about what's with all the rain, a question that's crossed my mind, probably crossed your mind as well. Last week we compared the weather to a roller coaster. This week we're going to be comparing it to something a little different, bumper cars actually. I'm going to explain what I mean by that in just a second, but the push alert just went out on that First Alert weather app. I'm going to wait for a few more folks to join on in. We always let you know when we're live here on the WTOL 11 YouTube page. Just sent out that notification that says live weather hangout, what's with all the rain? So let me know if you have any questions below. Of course, the main question we're going to answer is what's with all the rain? Why has it been so wet lately? Going to answer that and sort of explain the weather patterns that lead to all of this persistent rain day after day after day. Andy says it keeps loading. Thanks for joining us, Andy. Hopefully the stream is working okay. You got a few more viewers joining in now. We've been live for a couple minutes, but now that that push alert's been sent out, hopefully we have a few more of you tuning in. Let me know what school district you're from, what grade you are in, and hopefully we can get the kids and the parents tuning on in. Hey, Nikki, good morning, and thanks for joining us with your daughter, Lily. As the title suggests, what's with the rain? I'm sure you and Lily might be wondering the same thing since it's been so wet and rainy lately. So that's the question we're going to answer today. What's with all the rain? Sort of explaining why it's been persistently day after day raining. Melissa's joining us. Hi from Gavin too. Hey Gavin, thanks for tuning in. So let's get over to the graphics now and sort of explain why it's been so wet and rainy as of late. So we've got a few more folks joining us. Thanks for tuning in on this Thursday morning. I'm going to explain sort of the rainy and wet weather pattern. So this week, we're going to compare the weather to bumper cars. Last week it was roller coasters. This week is bumper cars. Who's been on a bumper car ride at an amusement park before? I know it's probably been a little while since we've been to amusement parks, but anyone like bumper cars? Because that's what we're going to compare the weather patterns to today. We got Nikki, who says Discovery Academy, kindergarten, and second grade. That's awesome, Nikki. Thanks for tuning in. I think this is a great weather lesson for that age range as well. So thanks for joining us, Nikki, as well as your daughter, Lily. And yes, a comment saying we're getting more in the next couple days to the point where I'm afraid they may get more severe weather. Thanks for joining us from Signet. You know, severe weather, not as big of a concern so much as just the persistent rain. And we're going to see more rain chances as we go into Memorial Day weekend. So enjoy the dry weather today because we are not done with the rain just yet. Hey, Andy, thanks for tuning in. So like I said, Today's episode, we're going to be comparing the weather to bumper cars, and you may be wondering, well, why bumper cars? Well, sometimes the weather patterns can act like bumper cars, and they can disrupt each other, they can bump into each other, sort of interact with each other, just like bumper cars might do. And we're going to kind of explain how over the last couple days, this storm system that brought us many days of rainfall kind of got stuck over the Midwest and didn't really go anywhere. It was sort of just stuck, like you get stuck in a bumper car, and sort of didn't really have anywhere to move or anywhere to go into. So if you can see the graphics, hopefully those get loading here so we can explain what's with all the rain. I'm sure that's a question on many of your minds, but thanks for taking a few minutes out of your Thursday morning to join with us. As I was doing that comparison last week, we talked about how the weather is related to the roller coaster. The jet stream, it has its fluctuations and its ups and downs. And similarly, the weather, it has its ups and downs, it has highs and lows, sort of all as a result of the jet stream, which we explained. The jet stream's kind of like a roller coaster ride, and then each individual car on that roller coaster is like an individual weather day. So the jet stream kind of launches those cars into motion, and each and every day we get a different car or a different roller coaster ride because of that jet stream. So today's edition, comparing the weather to bumper cars. Now, you've probably heard of high and low pressure systems. Do those terms sound familiar? Have you heard of highs and lows in terms of the weather patterns before? Leave your comments below. We've got a few folks joining us. Thanks for tuning in to this Weather Hangout Kids Edition. We've got a new viewer. So Nikki, my other daughter, I hope I can pronounce this right, Lila, joining us now. She's in kindergarten. Well, thanks for joining us with the kids, Nikki. I'm sure your daughters have ridden on bumper cars at some point or another. Maybe they're a little too young, but yeah, bumper car is definitely one of my favorite amusement park rides, and we're going to be explaining how the weather can kind of function like bumper cars. Chris says, I'm not in school, 35 years old, but still love learning. Yeah, Chris, never too late to stop learning. Really great that you're joining in on this Thursday morning. So kind of explaining the weather is bumper cars. So you've probably heard of high pressure systems and low pressure systems. Well, sometimes we get a weather system that is stuck. It's like a bumper car with nowhere to go. So that's what kind of happened earlier this week. We got a low pressure weather system with really nowhere to go. There was a high pressure to the north of us across southern Canada, and then there was a low pressure system out across the Atlantic Ocean. So kind of the weather system, the storm pattern that we got for several days straight had nowhere to really go, and it was kind of stuck almost. You can maybe see that graphic that we got pulled up here, shows the low pressure over the Midwest that kind of passed over Ohio, and then meanwhile to the north there was a high, and to the south there was a low. So this was kind of a situation, a bumper car situation, where the weather had nowhere to go. It was like, I'm trying to go east, but I really can't because I'm stuck. Have you ever been on a bumper car ride and you're kind of trapped between two cars? It's a little bit frustrating sometimes when you've got nowhere to go in either direction. But with this low pressure system, that is exactly the situation we noticed. You know, there was a high to the north, there was a low to the south, and this low's like, I'm trying to go to the east, but I can't because I'm stuck. So it was kind of a bumper car type situation. Hopefully that kind of helps explain it, but basically it was stalled out over the Midwest. And when we say stalled out, we mean it was stuck with nowhere to go, and it was really, really taking its time to move. Andy, I'm just going to keep going on with the live. Hopefully you can at least hear the audio okay. You know, we're going to keep proceeding with it. Internet connection outside of my control, but hopefully it gets going smoothly. LaQuentin, thanks for joining us. Hope you're having a good one on this Thursday. Hope you like the bumper cars analogy. The weather was kind of stuck, kind of trapped in a bumper car formation earlier on this week. So we got that graphic with the lows and the highs. And it was really a powerful low pressure weather system overhead of the Midwest, and that low just kept churning out rainy day after rainy day with nowhere to go. So this is a little bit more of a zoomed in view of that low that passed pretty much directly over Ohio. Really had nowhere to move to the east because there was another weather system out to the east that was kind of keeping it stuck and trapped. So when we get these strong low pressure systems, especially this time of year, they're bringing in a lot of rainfall day after day after day. And usually, you know, they only last for a day or maybe 2 days, and then they just move on out. But in this case, that low pressure system just had nowhere to really go. And because of that, it was kind of trapped over the Midwest, and in particular trapped over Ohio, because this one really just didn't move anywhere. It was stuck over Ohio for several days straight, just churning out rain after rain. Well, Zeddy, thanks for joining us, and thanks for the comments. I appreciate all of those. Andy, I know it's still loading, but we're going to keep things moving, just like the bumper car is going to keep moving here with our Weather Hangout Kids Edition. Hopefully you can at least see some of the graphics, Andy, and see the setup that caused kind of the stuck bumper car formation. We had a strong low pressure system over the Midwest, and that was pulling in lots of rain day after day after day. And then we had other weather systems sort of competing with it to the east. Those weather systems were kind of like those pesky bumper cars that keep you stuck and keep you from moving in a positive direction. So I've got a few more graphics to share with you. Hopefully those can get loaded here. So a lot of these weather systems that we see this time of year pull in lots of warm and humid air from the south. Yeah, it might take a couple seconds for this graphic to load, but hopefully you can see it. So this weather system, this low pressure system, was kind of stuck over the Midwest first and foremost, but it was also pulling in a lot of rain and a lot of moisture from the south. And this time of year, it gets a little bit more humid. We have a little bit more moisture to work with, and that means more rainfall for us. We often talk about how, during the winter, the snowstorms don't have as much moisture, and that's why we really can't compare, well, if it was snow, how much snow would we get? Well, because during the summertime, there's a little more moisture, a little more water to work with. So you can't just say, oh, we got this much rain, therefore it would be that much snow. So during the summertime months, and even during May, like we're in now, there's a lot more humid air to work with. So that can yield a lot more rainfall, especially when that weather system is stuck and trapped over the Midwest. A few more of your comments coming on through. Andy, if you want to know what the weather is, join us at noon. We got our latest newscast coming up on WTOL at noon. There are a couple more rain chances in this forecast, but we